get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it.
Yo, look, I ain't saying that I'm rich.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Four Nations. My name is Trajan. I will be your host for this evening, and I'm joined by a couple of faces. One of them you might have seen for a very brief period last week. Rev, welcome back to the desk. Hopefully, you'll get a bit more longevity out of this one. And then alongside him, we've got an OG, a bit of a name, a bit of a man about town that we've not seen for a long while. Melvin Izzle, thank you for unretiring and joining us again on the Four Nations desk.
It's great to be here. I got the wheelchair parked just in case I need to whip off in between games, but can't wait to get back into some UK esports.
Yeah, let's not overstrain him, okay? We get a bit crazy on the Four Nations, so we'll have
When's
to give
bedtime?
him a break sometimes. Exactly, it's getting very, very late. It's already dark out. Rev, how are you feeling about the UK scene? I say we didn't get to see you too much on the camera, but from what you've seen so far, what are your general vibes on what we've got going on in the Four Nations? You having fun?
Well, I am having fun. I'm having all of my fingers crossed over here, trying to make sure I don't ruin another broadcast. My feed as well. I don't know if anyone's interested. And I'm getting ready to see some interesting war crimes committed in drafts, because that's all I'm here for.
Yep.
I am one who enjoys cooking, but sometimes, man, I feel like Gordon Ramsay in Nightmare's Kitchen. I don't know how to handle all that heat.
Yeah, we're kind of sporting a lot of like the dubious dishes from Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild out here. We throw a lot of things in the pot. It's not always a good idea, but we have to eat it at the end of the day, and we can't wait to see what's cooked up this evening. So let's take a quick recap. Let's see where the standings have lain down after that first week. We have had a relatively clear divide, I think. We can get that graphics up. We have Lions Creed Academy, Ruddy, and Venom Crest Serpents, all at 2-0. None of them have played each other yet, so there's no actual head-to-heads there just yet. Nuclear Vikings, Belfast at 1-1, DMG, Paragon, and VZK at 0-2. So, Melvin Izzle, I'm going to come to you first. I'm going to ask you about these top teams. How far ahead do you think they are? Do you think there is a clear divide between them and the rest? And I guess if there's one of these teams as well that you could pick out as your current favorite after week one, who would it be?
So, for me, when I look at this, we're so early off into the new season when everything just got thrown at the wall with the whole preseason patch arriving just before competitive started. I think that it's not fair to say that we've got our decisive top three right now. For me personally, I think that Venom Crest is where I'm going to have my heart leaning. And I'll get a bit more into that when we talk about the meta read and everything, but I think just with the nature of the game, that's where I'm leaning for now.
Sure, Venom Crest perhaps a little bit well built for this current meta to exploit in the best way. How about you, Rev? In terms of our top teams, has anyone grabbed your heart? Do you feel an attachment to any of our best players here so far?
Well, at the risk of sounding too repetitive, I want to say Venom Crest as well, because they have been showing some dominance in multiple ways. I mean, we've only seen 2 matches, but the first they won by clearly skill checking and skill diffing the enemy team, and in the other they took a laid back approach. They're saying, okay, the meta is all about team fights, stalling out games, let's just scale and win, and so they did.
Yeah, I like that. I like that we have 2 analysts here who aren't as primed with last split's like evidence, because my brain always goes, well, surely it's maybe Ruddy because they were second last split, and then Tempest just vanished into thin air, so who's left at the top? It's Ruddy. Or maybe it's, it's Lions Creed Academy because it's the Cabbage family, it's the people that we've seen in the UK scene for a long time on stage, and we know they have experience. But I like that just based on what we're actually seeing, we've got 2 Venom Crest votes on this desk, so I think that's very interesting, and we'll see if they can start to acquit themselves or if any more definition arrives at the top of the table over this week. But for our first actual match, we're not hanging around the top of the table. We're going to go right down to the bottom. We're going to hang out with DMG and VZK to kick us off, okay? Both of them 0-2, neither of them with the most exciting start. Let's look at DMG first, just to get the roster up and reacquaint ourselves here. I believe we do have a sub in the mid and support here today. They're clearly still trying to figure out the roster, and we've not really seen anything, any sign of life for them just yet. So, Melvin Izzle, when you're coming into this, you're 1 week in, you don't really have anything good to go on. what are you thinking that DMG needs to work on? Are we trying to simplify the game? Are we trying to find a pocket pick to try and destabilize draft in our favor? You know, what do you think is a good way to recover after a rough start?
I think for this game in particular, considering these are two teams that are currently bottom of the standings, and I know it's a long way ahead to think, but thinking about who's going to be the matchup for later games with regards to relegation, this is the time to pull out some cheese picks, try and steal this win, and then work on iterating when you're against more opponents that you really shouldn't be taking on this early in the split, like the Ruddies like you talked about.
Yeah, maybe we just kind of, we push some limits, we test some things, we don't put too much stock behind those tough matchups for now. But Rev, in terms of DMG, from the very brief amount that we've seen from them, I guess, do you think there is anything to take away for DMG? Is there any kind of lane that you think they can play through? Or even if it's not specific to DMG, you know, is there any lane generally across the map that you think it is good to try and play through if we're looking for a strategy for them?
Well, to be honest, I think that DMG are fantastic. They just need to work on communication, map awareness, laning, vision control, CSing, poking, landing skills, objective control, early game, mid game, late game, ganking, and getting kills. But more importantly, I think they need to work on having a solid roster, because that's the alpha and the omega, as we say in Greece. That's the start and the finish of a good and a working roster, is knowing who you have beside you, knowing who you're working with, and understanding their strengths and their weaknesses. When you're constantly swapping things around, it makes complete sense to me that you're gonna falter. And when you falter more and more just because you don't have the time to practice with a solid roster, to understand how you want to play the game and what's your win conditions, then you're giving more and more chances to the enemy team to take advantage of all those blunders and rip right through your ribcage. And I think that DMG, for starters, needs to solidify their core.
Yeah, gotta get that strategy built first going forward. You know, some of these teams like Ruddy that have changed nothing. We see a lot of shifts and flowing of rosters around normally at these lower divisions, the grassroots. It's hard to get players to stick together for a long time. And if you can really start building something. When you're constantly changing parts, it's, as you say, Rev, it can be hard to actually build a cohesive vision. So we'll see if DMG can't solidify that going forward. But let's instead take a look at VZK. This is a roster, or an organization, I should say, that surprised us in a good way last split. They ended up overperforming. They had Lars in the top lane, and they were able to really get in line behind him and get a lot more wins and make a deeper playoffs run than we expected. They do not have Lars on the starting roster anymore. They have Shida, another name that we will recognize from last split and from the UK scene in general. But Rev, I'm going to come back to you here, and I want to ask you about the way that they are using the draft right now, because we've seen a Karthus jungle out of them, we've seen a Jax top, we've seen a Yone top, we've seen, you know, none of these tanks that are starting to come through, we've seen the AP jungler, the Karthus, as opposed to all of the skirmish junglers. Do you think that this is a workable read that VZK has, or are we maybe just straying too far from the path right now?
No, I really like the read right now, because you are going all in onto the scaling. All those picks, the Karthus, the Yone, the Jax, the Varus, they're scaling into Oblivion with a small art circle on the Varus, because it's build dependent as well. So you are either skill leafing the enemy team, or you are waiting for you to scale into Oblivion. Of course, there's also the bigger asterisk that you might falter in the mid game if the enemy has a way more solid front to back, boring teamfight read. Then you need to be wary of those. You need to know how to avoid the enemy win conditions and not fall into the most common pitfalls. And that they did, because I was watching a little bit of their games, and for example, Shida, he starts level 1, level 2, he gets a solo kill, he gets a second, he starts pressuring, and then time and time again I feel like I'm looking at a solo game where you're just not respecting the enemy team. You're falling for the same mistakes, getting caught on the side lane, pushing a mid wave which isn't yours to push because the tempo advantage does not belong to you and your team, and basically not respecting the enemy timer. So you can play with those picks. You have shown some potential and some carry limits for all your players, but you need to learn to respect the enemy teams as well, because they're not here by chance.
Yeah, Absolutely, right? In that Ruddy game, we saw a lot of good stuff out of VZK, as you mentioned, but ultimately Ruddy were able to grab that game back and take control. They're the ones with the extra power in the roster, with that cohesion. They were the ones able to capitalize in the mid game. And now I like the way, Rev, you framed it around kind of losing control of the game in this mid game, because we have seen a lot of teams just really struggle to convert from those early leads. This is a very common problem. We always see it every level. You see the underdog smash the early game, they're getting leads across the lanes, and then suddenly they hit 20 minutes versus T1 and the game's over, they lose a team fight, and the match is over, right? So let's take a bit of a deeper dive here into how this is functioning with the current meta and our current teams. We do have some BTs to play, just some clips of those early plays. We are seeing the success from the teams in this arena. But Melvin Izzle, I know you have some thoughts on just the state of the game right now and how that interacts with this specific early into mid game transition.
So yeah, I think particularly when it comes to the addition of the Void Grubs, when you look at the contesting between them and Dragon, it means now that you've got a proper dichotomy in the jungle, and based on what's getting played in the jungle, really does affect all your laners. If you want to play these scaling AP junglers, you need things like the Yone in your mid lane, in your top lane. You need to get that mixed damage across the board. And what it actually ends up doing is you either have those scaling junglers who like to forfeit or one-shot these objectives, or you pivot, go for things more like the Xin Zhao, like the Jarvan, or if you want more of a utility version, the Rel, and then that way you just focus on snowball early, and then roll off of that, build up some of those early dragons, and then you can enable a lot of these scaling hypercarries we see pop up all the time at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I do like the fact that there's a lot more choice in the early game. It gives people more things to play for, but the extra complication and the extra time investment to trying to clear off all of these objectives that can be so impactful later certainly has affected, I think, of the usual kind of rhythm a lot of the players in the junglers especially will have in terms of how they think about the early game. Rev, in terms of this early to mid game transition, when you see teams like DMG and VZK like succeeding in the early game and failing to transition through, you say they're not really playing on tempo very well, they're not taking their turn at the right time. You think there is a way to simplify that and make it easier to do, or is it really just you have to just buckle down and practice and learn and grind it out?
Well, I think the truth is obviously somewhere in the middle, where you can actually realize, hey, I need to go for this play, hey, I don't need this, we can give up. Sometimes just waiting out things is the way for you to win games, even though it really feels counterintuitive when you play the game. You can say, it can be, if I leave my keyboard and mouse, I cannot win, but yep, sometimes you can, so you should. But there's also a huge burden of knowledge of what play should I go for? Because sometimes you see a team in the ITS, you feel like they're winning the early game. They get 3-6 grabs, they get the Rift Herald, but is it always the best play? Does it always give something to you?
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't. I've spoken to several pros, and many of them are really skeptical about those objectives. Do you have the push? Will you be able to use the little void mites? Are they doing enough for you to give all the time and tempo and commitment to the grabs, to the Herald, to the Drake, or whatever you decide to do in the end of the day? Because sometimes just playing the old game and pretending that Season 13 works beneficially for you and your team, because you already know that game, and you know that getting your lanes ahead is a fail-proof way to win the game.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of the meta, a lot of the champion drafting was very Season 13-esque. Right when we kicked off, we were still doing a lot of the same picks in the mid lane, and then in the bot lane as well. Is that we're still Lucian Namiing, we're still Aphelios and whatevering, but do you guys think that this meta has actually significantly started to shift away from that Season 13? I'm trying to think of what's coming through in the jungle and in top lane as well. Melvin, I don't know if you think we are seeing a different direction. It's definitely felt like it started at the same place, but do you think we're actually moving to a significantly different endpoint as people get a hold of the new items in the pack? Alright,
so I need to stop a timer. It's been 13 minutes since I've been on broadcast, and I'm now going to bring up Ivan. It's been too long. Enchanters are cracked right now. It was really paining me right there. But as far as it goes, all these enchanter items pretty much across the board, with the exception of Shurelya's got insanely buffed. They're so much cheaper. I think that's why we're seeing so much prevalence on solo lane picks like the Karma that can actually enchant and flex and just be such a nuisance in the draft. In the jungle, I think not likely, but Meowson has got some Ivan in their history, and I'm hoping that they could channel that, because in the current meta, it is so irritating to play against them. The damage numbers, very high in the early game. Well, there's one way to fix that. You either try and out-tank it, or just don't worry about the damage in the first place, because you've got a shield on you. I think that this is sleeper where we should be heading with the metagame as we start to develop.
Yeah, and especially with, I know that this patch, on live patch, we had the Karma buffs come through on 14.2, right? And I think that everyone was expecting Karma to just go straight to #1 prior, playing at mid, playing at top, playing at bot, playing it everywhere, just because of the numbers were tamped up so high. I think one of, if not the only teams that has actually touched it is DMG. I think they played a Karma mid in their second game. They did not win that game, but as we say, that there's maybe other problems to address there. So, Rev, do you agree with Melvin Izzle? Do you think we're going to Enchant Essential? We're going back to Season 5 Ardent Censer Domination Worlds? Or do you think there is maybe a counter to that option if we start seeing the Enchanters come through?
Well, yes and no, because I've seen all those enchanters come through. I've seen the Melio, I've seen the Lulu sometimes being taken up, and all those hyper carries being also assisted by the fact that the games do not close out easier. The average game time is closer to 30 minutes than 20, so they get more time to pick up their second and third item and start space gliding on all those team fights. But I've also seen some prevalence in what I like to call the tank chanters in the bottom lane, like the Renata Glask, the Bard, all those enchanterish picks that actually build full tank and are getting full advantage from the Trailblazer, the Locket, which is kind of cracked right now, and also then building into more enchantress areas. You can support your team, but also you can kind of frontline at least for the first 15 to 20 minutes in the game. So you're getting the best of all worlds. You can face check some brushes, you can place your vision without having your jungle to always shadow you and abandon his own resources, and you can also kind of enchant and help your carry to just carry the game away.
And you can get out on the map, which is so important right now. Supports that can leave lane, get to those void grubs, and just help this snowball on the top side, so impactful. It means that those independent ADCs that can stay down there and survive on the tower get even more priority.
Talking about independent ADCs, Ezreal got buffed.
Yes.
I'm everything that they wished for.
We did. I think Ezreal is currently 0-2 in the Four Nations, but that's not Ezreal's fault. You know what I mean? Like, Ezreal is doing just fine, and we're just, someone will get the hang of it. But I am very excited for Ezreal, especially with Karma, right? The classic pairing in bot lane. You just Ezreal Karma, you leave them to do whatever they want, and you can focus on the rest of the map. So we'll see if anyone wants to actually pick that specific pairing. I have a quick question. We are going to get into draft very shortly, I believe, but we're talking about supports and the prevalence of them, especially like these quite mobile tank chanters, as Rev put. Why is it that everyone hates Solstice Slay with such a fiery passion that I have seen it built literally 0 times ever in solo queue, in pro? I've literally never seen anyone build this. So, Rev, as a tank chanter enjoyer, what is wrong with this item? Is the numbers just too small? Like,
okay. Hear me out. Okay, I'm gonna be really serious about that.
Very serious, yeah.
It sucks.
Okay, it's a bad item.
It just sucks. It gives 120 flat health to your nearest enemy. The cooldown is up there. It's not like Guardian cooldowns, but it's still very high. Whereas if you look at all the other items, the Zexark Ram Spike, it's always broken up. The Blood Song is Giga Bonkers. It's an item and a keystone 2-in-1 for your whole team. Then you look at Celestial Opposition, which is also on the same and even a little bit lower cooldown, and allows you to face tank everything. You have an aftershock waiting for you. So I feel like it's just the worst option right now and in significant need of buffs.
Yeah, it does seem just horrendous going on pick data, but we'll get into the draft right now. Let's stop bashing it and let's look at some actual drafting right here. So we're getting into the picks and bans. Oh, come on now. Not when Melvin's come back after a year and a half. The first thing you do is you ban Ivern. That is really unacceptable conduct. I think the admins will be having a word with VZK after this game, but sadly it is very jungle focused. It looks like Dowson has taken a lot of focus right there. We'll see if they leave him the Echo or if he wants to take something else, whereas the other side, the Akali first, a classic mid lane pick, and then the Rumble as well. So are there any other power picks as we're heading through here that you're expecting to see banned away, Melvin, or potentially first picked if it does get through?
I think that both these teams, Cassante is something that I see that could show up early on in the draft. Obviously, the Karma that we discussed, we are expecting that to be the first pick on the blue side if it's not taken away by DMG right now. That brand knockdown, as far as it goes, I mean, the Karthus is also on the table for those AP junglers, but really, I think that we just need to focus and see, is this going to be a Karma at the start, or are we going to have it somehow sink through to red side?
Yeah, it seems like not. It seems like it has been windmill slammed by VZK though. So as we said, a 3-way flex, kind of a 4-way flex if you pair it with some other mage in the bot lane, right? It's got a lot of viability here, and there's the Cassante to follow it up for DMG. So pretty much on the money there, Melvin Izzle. Rev, I'm going to give you a much harder question, because now most of them have been taken, all the power picks have already been stolen. Is there anything else that you're looking as just like, we can slam this blind, we don't care what we play it into, these kind of champions that you're looking for?
Well, mostly these, honestly. There's Varush, there's Ashe, there's Kalista as well. You are a little bit aware of the Ashe counterpick, but it's still pretty nice at this point. Or even just trying to force the Karma away. I've seen the Blitzcrank rise to prevalence. It's nice into most supports right now, and especially if the enemy picks an Enchanter or picks the Karma into the bottom lane, you can always grab her, get her out of position, and make sure that those numbers do not matter.
Yeah, now we've had the Udyr slammed again here. Udyr Cassante is becoming quite a common matchup, and we have seen a lot of, let's call it discussion online about Udyr top lane and the viability of this pick. Are we Udyr haters, or are we lovers? Are we Udyr lovers here?
I mean, depends on your perspective. Is it on my team or the enemy team? Because that heavily changes it. This champ being able to proxy farm so early and having a Karma with it to speed it up, I feel like VZK have a really strong core to play out, especially when you look at what DMG are currently presenting. That's all dive!
Yeah, I feel like it's not a question of if it's for the enemy team or my team. It's more of a question, are we talking about 15 to 20 minutes game or 20 plus minutes game? Because this pick, especially in the hands of most top laners, tends to drop in how useful it is rapidly after 20 minutes. It's pretty hard to navigate. You are just being a front line, being annoying, setting up slow zones, unless of course you find someone 1v1, because the 1 point Q almost one-shots everyone. Thanks, Riot. But yeah, I don't feel like top laners have put enough games and enough time into the champions. They are feeling that, hey, it's still a Season 1 champion. It just has 4 auto-attack resets. And so they are not being as useful as the champion allows you to be.
Yeah. I am a wee bit worried for DMG. They have left Renata Glass open right now, and
Ban Rakan.
Yeah, well, I get that for the Xayah angle, but it's kind of a bit contrary. When you look at what you've got, everything says we're jumping in, but right now that Karma can just as easily head to mid as the expected support role. So I'm very curious to see what DMG are thinking about blinding here. It's all about getting a scary enough mid matchup that Karma wants to go support to be protected from it.
Yeah, because they've tried to pinch that support pool, whereas VZK, they focused on the jungle. The Sejuani was the answer for Meowson there, so he's had to reach deep into the pool, but it's still a very Season 13 champion that he's pulled out. And then the Kai'Sa Nautilus has a lot of threat in that bot lane, and a Karma, you know, very vulnerable to a Nautilus hook if they're not spacing right. We'll give VZK a second to stop baiting us for a moment there, and yeah, let's see what this mid matchup is going to be. Looks like we've got the Rel in the jungle. Udyr going to top as we would expect, and we'll see if Tycho or Dokai is going to be piloting this Karma.
It could be also the Rel in the support position. It's still open. It's a triple flex right now. Even the Udyr can go towards the jungle, although the lesser money that they can get over there is kind of limiting their impact. But yeah, it seems Rel in the jungle, Karma for the support, and they have quite a lot of answering potential because they can both kite you out with the Karma shields, with the Udyr slows, and then they can snap back and engage into DMG Esports. I really like the VZK lineup so far.
Oh, I think they just stole that Yone away. I'm looking at this DMG comp, and it just makes you scream, right, Yasuo, Yone kind of things with that Sejuani. Yeah. You really want a mid laner who's melee. I do think that the Orianna is a good pivot, being able to bully the Yone in lane quite substantially. It was historically always a pick that people locked in when they saw this, because if you let the Yone get away with laning for free, it's rough. Also, VZK, are they cooking?
We're starting to... I think they're cooking. I was thinking this while Rev was speaking that, like, technically, it's still a flex mid-top for Yone, and they could do the Udyr jungle, right? That is probably the least likely or the least played of this kind of orientation. We really don't see the Udyr jungle very often now, but looks like they've settled on it. And we've got the Yone into Orianna, the Karma into the Cassante. So Cassante, in theory, is not going to be able to get down and dirty in the melees and be that massive irritant that it is up in the top lane. Sheeta should be chilling up there, I would imagine, with the range advantage this Karma has. And there is some cooking going on for VZK. So we'll see if these lane matchups can get them that advantage. And this is maybe going to feed back into what we were saying earlier, guys. So we're looking for early leads that you can build off lane advantage and then conversion into strong mid and late game. Whereas DMG have the most bog standard front to back. We've got engage, we've got backline, we've got follow-up, we've got dive. It's simple for DMG. If they go late and they're even, their game plan is so easy to execute that I would tend to favor them. And we'll see if VZK can hold control of the game, or if they will kind of let it slip out of their hands, as they maybe have done in the past. Rev, do you agree with this assessment? Do you think that VZK, when it comes to teamfight, does actually have a leg to stand on, or is it going to be tough if they're not ahead?
No, I think they do have a leg to stand on. They also have that a little bit front to back, but they need to commit a little bit more in order for them to play the game. They mostly have really committal buttons to engage, like the rel crash down. You are in the midst of the enemy team, even if you missed the Yone ultimate. Yes, you can always snap back with your E, but still you are putting yourself in harm's way. But they still have quite a lot of scaling, and of course the Xayah is one of the best teamfight AD carries, maybe not up there in the range, but still the Featherstorm can give you so much safety. The Root from the Blade Caller can give you so much utility in the fights. Paired up with the Karma Shield, it should be fine. The only thing that I'm worried about is that if they put Udyr in the top lane, then they couldn't be killed ever, because the Udyr builds, I don't know, Warden's Mail plus a Kane Crookern, and then who deals damage to them? Until Orianna builds 3 or 4 items, he should be unkillable and unpassable as well. But it's still pretty nice, and I should have my eyes peeled on Shida, because in this game, if he gets ahead, he's going to become a menace. He can build so many different items, build both damage and utility. But if he gets punished, maybe by overstepping in his lane and getting 1 or 2 ganks, then the Karma can get pretty easily shut down.
See, I really will follow up on that with Shida being a very important part of the game, because we're talking about how insane these support items are. The fact that you can both get Malignant's Karma and then build into Mikhail's to really mute this Sejuani's late game impact. I think that top lane is probably going to be the most pivotal, because bot, well, we're going to see most likely a level 3-4 gank from both sides to snowball that. We've seen this matchup 100 times, but top lane, if you can't crack the Karma early, then it is going to be cracked for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I love the way that Karma can just be this, like, kind of bag of holding. Just, I can build whatever you need. Whatever we need to have in any specific slot, I can just get Cleanse over here, and I'll get some Slow over here, and I'll get some Redemption over here, and you can just put anything together. And it seems like the numbers are just so high and the utility is so high that it really does give you that flexibility. Love a bit of build flexibility here. And we'll see if this is enough for VZK Esports. They, I think, have had a better performance so far, like we say, taking Roddy mostly the distance. But for now, we'll see if they can take down DMG. One of these teams is looking for that first win. And we'll see who finds it as we head on over to our casters, Ejun and Doctor, for game number 1.
Thank you, and yes, we are back over here at Four Nations. Is happy to be back. It's been a while, and new season, some exciting changes. Seeing Karma on the top lane, Doctor. How do you feel so far about this new season and how it's shaping up?
How on God's green earth are you going to say exciting things and Karma in the top lane?
Well, it is exciting. I haven't seen it in a while. Let's be fair.
Yeah, let's keep it that way. What is it?
Yeah, It is a bit obnoxious. I do agree. It is a bit obnoxious to go against. That definitely giving me some solo queue PTSD. It's not very interactive at all to play against.
If I'm sitting there as Zyark and I'm looking at a draft, I'm like, oh, they've picked Udyr, man. Oh, that's going to be boring. And then they look at like the Karma as well, and you're just like, well, great. There's no good option for me. Neither world am I going to have fun. They put out like a 5-way top lane flex, and you're like, they're all bad options. You don't get to play the top lane experience in a lot of these matchups. So, good times for Cassante ahead, surely.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, kind of like how the draft, the analysts were talking about, with like so many flex picks for the potential top side, and then ending up with Karma in top and Udyr as jungler, and of course Yone as mid. How do we feel about like this configuration of flex champs?
I prefer really not to speak. I mean, this just is going to be an upsetting experience for DMG, I think. All they want to do is, all they can really do is run at you. Right? When you look at Sejuani, Nautilus, Kai'Sa, and Kazante. And then it's like, yeah, cool, we've got Udyr and Karma, two people who just absolutely love nothing more than for you to run into us, with a Xayah as well. So it's like, oh, it's not looking very fun for DMG here. See if they can sneak something out early to try and get a bit of a snowball going, because if it's even, it's not Pog.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have to find something over here. Like, you know, they are struggling for sure. 0-2, they need to find that first victory, and this is definitely not a really fun comp to do it against, but if they can get that win, it will be great. We do have Sejuani starting from the top side and the Udyr starting from the bot side, so, you know, we do have some differing strategies already coming out from both teams. Seems like DMG wants to try to pivot towards getting this bot lane ahead as much as possible.
Strangler's pivoting towards just power clearing because he knows he doesn't have to do anything. And god damn is he right. Like, he just starts chickens, runs to Krugs, it doesn't even do the red, it's like, I just want my camps to spawn faster. And speeds on through, because again, in any game, not just League, but you know, in any competitive game, there's always a sort of question of, well, if neither of us do anything, who wins? And in that case, or in this case, the answer is VZK. Like, if this game just go for 30 minutes and the scoreline's 0-0, they're chilling. And with Strangler knowing this, he's happy just setting up a bit of a full clear. On the other side, though, Miosen might have to look for a little bit of a dive. Maybe we'll see how this wave's going. No, okay, they're not stacking the wave; it's bouncing back. So maybe at some overextension as this wave tries to crash in, there's a gank opportunity for Miosen. If not, then you know, unlucky. He'll try again in a little bit.
Yeah, so it does, from what you're saying, definitely feels like DMG, you know, they are playing with a bit of a clock. They do need to make sure they get ahead as much as possible. And in that case, which lane do you feel like is going to be the key for, like, getting them ahead enough that they can... Oh! You know, speaking of lane, over here in the mid lane, we already get some action over here. Tycho getting a stun over there, a knock-up, and Strangler just chasing so fast, but now he's caught between a rock and a hard play. Malzahn with the stun coming in. Everybody getting quite low and wounded, but nobody going down in the end. Belgian army had to use his flash just to get away.
Yeah, alrighty, nice little counter gank there. Coming up from Malzahn. Gonna have to be a little bit worried there, as the Orion, like you say, no flash. And looking at the state of the wave here, I think I'm going to make an assumption that Malzahn took more XP than Strangler did. It's not going to matter, because Strangler's just coming straight back. We don't even have to worry about who's going to hit 6.
Oh, yeah, they want to try again, but ooh, my! Tycho gets so low, he is able to survive, and now Strangler gets even lower himself.
Oh,
can he get out of here alive? He is Udyr after all. Oh, the flash comes in, first blood for Malzahn, and that is definitely a nice start for DMG.
Okay, we take those. They managed to space out the Udyr nicely, never really give him a good opportunity to use his empowered form in either of those engages. So he ends up just sort of walking on in. And Tycho's forced back, has to pop a cheeky teleport as well, because that wave is not looking too fun. And so a couple of advantages across the board for DMG. You'll see if Belt actually wants to trade for TP, doesn't want to miss any CS. And so he'll come right on back as well. So no TP advantage there. At least a bit of a save for VZK, because, oh look, Shearder's having fun. Has he used the pot? No! Has he traded once? No! Has he procced Grasp a single time? Probably not. Like, what can he do? He just sits like, oh, is the turret low? Not really. You know, is Shearder got a CS lead? Oh, he's procced it once! Huge win for the Kazante community. Like, what? Shearder, like, what you just... Shearder was like, yeah, I can't wait to play Karma top in officials. I think that's going to be... It's going to be really fun. I'm going to really enjoy it. Everyone in this lane is going to enjoy it. No jungler is going to turn up. Just, what's the point?
For the sake of you, Doctor, I hope that most of the action happens in the mid or the bot side of the
map. Well, there's no action can happen in the top lane, Ejun. Like, it's just not an option.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I can't disagree with you there, but there is a little bit of action here with Strangler now taking the Void Grubs. You know, speaking of Void Grubs, this is quite new, of course, like, still getting used to how exactly this works. And how do you feel about, like, Void Grub versus Dragon? What takes more priority? in the early
Like Strangler just got breaded from all the little ones being killed off there. It's like an extra 30 gold picked up. But it's one of those ones where it's like the first Herald on old season was Pog, second was whatever, and now it's like the first Grubs are kind of whatever, but the second, if you can get that 5th or 6th, is Pog. For me, it's like, I think a lot of the times I don't even see the extra mites that you spawn do anything when you're pushing turrets. But it's one of those ones like, yeah, if the objective is there, let's get it. But I don't think it's worth like giving up a Drake for, or giving up a turret for, or even giving up like 2 or 3 plates for. So what we see here is that the Drake is given up for it, and it's like, okay, is that like, 5-6% extra true damage onto a turret going to add up more than... is it going to matter more than not only the stats of the Drake, but then, the threat of a soul potentially being that 5 minutes earlier and all that jazz?
That's true, that's true. It is quite a bit of a dilemma. I mean, it also is the case that you do need to be ahead to even start, like, pounding the turrets, like, and actually making them go down one by one. So even if you have the Void Grubs, if you can't reach the turrets, they don't really do anything.
Oh, it's a huge trade. Shida walks up, autos him once, gets 1.75 max health, and then walks away.
I definitely feel a bit of a bias here against this Karma top end. Hopefully this is the last time we see it on UKL for your sake.
What did Shida think was going to happen in this lane that would need biscuits?
Oh wait, goes popped by Strangler.
Yeah, he was looking for
but
it.
To just back off.
He changed his mind a bit.
Yeah, the counter jungling definitely is ramping up a bit. Meowsen doing his own. This is kind of interesting. I would have expected the Udyr to have a larger farm amount than the Sejuani, but she actually has 6 more.
Oh.
Did not expect that at all.
Yeah, you'd think it would be a little bit more in Udyr's favor. Not sure if any of that ends up being, what do you call them? Lane CS or not, but either way, even if they are, it's still really good for Meowsen. Oh, look, Shida's right click. Oh, he's chained him. Is it going to do any damage? No!
Oh, he even sidestepped and dodged, dodged the knockout. That's crazy.
Look at him go!
This is crazy gameplay we're seeing here right now, Doctor.
Has he done any damage? No! Has he used any mana? No! Has he taken any damage? No! Has anyone had fun? No! It's huge!
Well, I am definitely having fun by hearing, your
Oh
my god, they're in the mid lane. We just saw Tycho become past tense there.
Oh my god. Tycho, more like Ty killed. Oh, something might happen!
Mimo in the bot lane. Finally some action over here. Shada getting low, having to use the flash.
No,
is trying to run away. The shield and the movement speed will allow him to run away. Indeed, Strangler here trying to help out. But let's see if he can strangle legendary Yaywalk indeed. I mean, it's just 2 tanks and, 3 tanks and 1 enchanter just going at each other. Oh, Meowsen gets super low. Finally gets killed by Strangler. Oh my god, and here comes a kill for Shada as well. In the end, the Karma top is getting rewarded by VZK.
Hey, yeah, it's an enchanter with half an item. Let's go kill him. Oh no, she's healed 40% of her missing health. CC locked us for 10 minutes straight and not really actually done anything. But we haven't been able to do anything either, and now Udyr's here. My god. Oh, I've just realized Karma in League or Karma solo is exactly the same as Karma in Legends of Runeterra. How do Riot do
Oh,
it?
really? I don't play Legends of Runeterra. Please describe.
Ionia in Karma's the control card. She basically wins you the game if you get to like turn 10. And Ionia is just the no region. Like, they have no removal, they have no damage on their spells, but they have a lot of spells that are just like, oh, just, recall a minion, put it back in their hand. Or like, oh, just stun a minion. You're not going to kill it, you're not going to do any damage to it, you're just going to stop it attacking. And you just play against it, like, cool, they haven't done anything, but I'm just not allowed to play the game. And now it's turn 10 and Karma's leveled up and it's over. And it's exactly the same in League. It's like, we haven't done anything, but,
Yeah, I mean,
they haven't done anything
that has happened this match with now VZK getting 6 grubs. So that is the 6th buff for Team Nice indeed once they can start pushing in. Soren J with a nice stun into BBXN. I mean, yeah, so far this bot lane has been very peaceful. Oh, never mind. Just as quickly as I start talking, they immediately get into skirmishes here. And with that missed hug, Soren J and Dokai are going quite aggressively. But of course, on the other side, they are supported by Meowsen, and my god, Sorenja gets solo, gets absolutely chunked down, and Dokai trying to run away too, but he cannot. A double kill for BBXN, but now comes Shada from the side. Trying to help out, trying to get some revenge kills, but he's alone and he's an enchanter. Last time I checked,
he's low. He's maybe gonna die.
Strangler coming in from the side as well. NetLQ cannot survive this onslaught. BBXN completely surrounded by Strangler.
Oh, he's an
Can he get out? Can he do anything in his way? Belgian Army gets a kill, and oh my god, he gets the kill on the Udyr. Wow, that was quite the fiesta there.
Shida, he's managed to mess up the easiest champion in the game. It's huge. There's a world he gets out there if he gets the Mantra W, but he mentions the E instead. Either way, works out decently for DMG. Managed to get themselves a couple of kills out there, and they don't lose all too much off the back. Unfortunately, Wyack isn't able to pick up too much on the top lane. Belt should be he should be fine here. Speed his way on out. Really what you want to do now is make sure everyone can reset and make their way back on over to the Drake in time for the spawn. If you can get a nice little trade onto the Orianna as well, then power to you.
Indeed, indeed. The next dragon is up. It is going to be a mountain dragon, so wonder what the soul is going to be. We do have some members trying to like huddle around this area, trying to get some priority. Seems like at the moment VZK has a bit of a numbers advantage, but very quickly they start backing. Also, now it is going to be Meowsen here in the dragon pit, and it seems like DMG wants to take this second dragon.
Yeah, this should be pretty locked in for DMG. They've not only got control of the pit, they've also got TP advantage up on top. Shida making the critical error of thinking he can do something by walking off top lane, trying to threaten a turret. You can't do anything. It's just no one else can either. And now the Cassandra can look for a bit of a TP down bot to secure this Drake if he needs to. And Shida's not exactly going to be picking up any plates whilst that goes on, but there's no contest. And the Drake is nice and secured.
Yeah, so that's the second Drake for DMG. Just 2 more Drakes, and they will get the Soul. And of course, the Soul Dragon will be the Cloud Drake. So, they'll be very fast. I don't exactly know how good Cloud Drake is in this current meta with, this new season. But, still, movement speed is always very nice. Yes, we get to see some more wet noodle trades here in top lane. I think I saw Cassandra lose like 1% of the HP there. But in the mid lane, however, now this is some damage right here. Going to Bell Ginger Army. He's getting low. He's getting super low, shut down, gets the kill, but gets answered back by Meowsen. Strangler at least getting that shutdown gold is pretty nice, but now DMG with the numbers advantage starts sieging down mid lane.
Alright, they'll start swinging away, but whilst this is going on down in the bot lane, you'll see Soren and Dokai hitting up their turret as well, and they've got themselves a bit of grub action. They've got the true damage and the little guys coming out as well, so they'll be able to put out just as much damage as the 3 people on mid, even though there's only 2 of them down bot. Neither turret will fall before the 14-minute mark. Ooh!
My god, what a hook and what a play from NetLQ. Just getting that kill over on a silver platter to DBXN. We do have over here Meowsen maybe caught off here, just caught between 3 members, and then Enchanter and 2 tanks, but somehow there's enough damage for Meowsen to go down by Dokai.
Alright. Well, turret secured. We managed to pick up a kill in response. Very nice. Herald haven't already spawned. Maybe a bit of an opportunity to sneak it away here. Get a bit of a rush going in as DMG will take their resets. What with Orianna showing on bot and nobody else visible elsewhere on the map, you can assume that they have all gone B. And so VZK will go ahead and start up the Herald. See just how quickly they can do it. They're doing it pretty quickly. That one should be grabbed nice and easy.
Nice. So, Doctor, so far in this game, we talked about how DMG might be on a bit of a clock, and kind of looking at the pace of the game, they're doing pretty fine. They have a small lead, but do you feel like the pace is fast enough, or do you feel like, no, they have to kind of ramp it up? They need to start, like, really, like, opening up the game within the next 5 minutes?
A good, I think a good metric for how it's looking for DMG. What are they racing? They got to race the decline of my sanity over the action that this Karma brings. So the faster I go insane, the worse it's looking for DMG. Right now, it's not looking too bad. Ooh, oh
my god, the flash is used as well. BBXN really wants this kill. Gets the kill. And in the same time, up on top lane, Meowsen got jumped on by like 3 people, but he was able to get out alive. Just had to use the flash.
Yeah. He somehow manages to sneak out of that one, and that kill goes on over. Herald has been deployed on mid, and can be drove in. We'll see what Cassandra can do to try and hold this. He can do a little bit, but he has to be
taking
careful.
quite a bit of turret damage here. Cassante is getting quite low, but of course, being Cassante, he does have a dash as a tank. Completely balanced. Do not nerf him at all, Riot.
Oh!
And wait a second! Soren J just got completely shafted by that tower and goes down.
Oh, no.
And now Dokai is being surrounded by like 4 people, and this guy just can't get out of there. How in the world DMG kind of... I mean, the game's kind of exploded now.
And Sheena's popping off in the top lane.
No, it's yeah, a bit of a ramped up turret there. Coming out, takes out Soren, and I think the fight went on a bit longer than VZK would have liked, because nobody got in the Herald, and if you don't get in, if you put that thing in cruise control instead of driving it yourself, it doesn't actually do that much damage. So the turret stayed up, the play gets delayed, it stays on, and Cassante takes his damage reduction, he dashes on out, and suddenly you've grossly overcommitted for very little in return. And when I was talking earlier about, DMG being on a clock, that's in terms of the raw 5v5, right? When you just have 5 people, because all that the DMG comp can do as 5 is just run at you. And that's exactly what VZK want. So if they can keep the game in this kind of state, where they're splitting things up, and, there's no... Basically, when there's no threat of a Baron ending push, or, a massive swing off of one play, they can sort of split up the map a little bit more, go for plays like that where you send 3 people bot. And if they can keep doing that and keep getting those kills and turning that into turrets, then maybe they can get enough gold so that when they get to the point where it has to be a 5v5, they can come out on top.
Indeed, indeed. And I mean, the fight is going to break out sooner or later. In 20 seconds, the 3rd Drake will happen. If DMG gets this, they are on soul point, and that's going to be great for the amount of macro movements they can do. Ooh, okay. NetBellQ misses this hook, and they maybe try to go in, but he is a bit tanky, so he's going to get out. Oh, but then now we do have Dokai completely caught out here, flashing out to safety. Now their support is low. Their support still has ultimate, but now DMG, a bit more healthy, wants to start up this dragon. This dragon, of course, going to give them that 3rd buff, which is going to be crucial for their team. It seems that Versus wants to fight, though. They are looking for an angle to go in. The dragon is taken. Okay, what's going to happen now? Ooh, Orianna ult misses. Belchinger army gets very low. The Dokai goes down. Stranger tries to go in. Legendary Ewok gets 2 people there, forcing them to be very cautious with their decisions. A lot of misskills, but my god, that amazing ult coming out from the Yone is going to catch absolutely everybody, and that's 2 members dead now from DMG. And now they just have to run away. BBX and trying to run away as fast as he can. That ghost will allow him to do so. They do get the dragon. They kind of lose that fight.
Alrighty, I mean, I saw that going a lot worse for VZK. You can see they're positioning about it. They're trying to figure out how they want to, turn the fight. But ultimately, they've already been chunked out and lost control of the river. With Tycho looking for a flank, it doesn't look great. But even after the Drake goes down, they managed to get that big stack of the Yone ult on top of, all the Udyr AoE damage ramping on up. And they managed to pick themselves up a couple of kills. So VZK not too unhappy with that one, especially because I think they got some shutdowns there. But at the same time, that really only worked out because DMG walked on top of each other. And right up until the part where the Yone ult kicked in, that was just better fundamentals from DMG. They just had control, they set up the area, they poked them out, they forced them off the objective and stopped VZK being able to walk into them. So if we can use the money, great. But otherwise, it still indicates that DMG have a bit of a stronger grasp on the game right now.
Well, that is good to hear indeed, if you are a DMG fan, of course. I do have to kind of note that I was super surprised to see the Karma's damage. We talk Enchanter and stuff like that, but with this Malignance, now this Karma's starting to hurt quite a bit, especially if you're squishy, such as the Kai'Sa or the Orianna. She can definitely chunk you out.
Yeah, it's also the fact that she just doesn't have cooldowns anymore. Like, her ult is now just every ability is a mantra. I don't know exactly what you need for the break. I don't know if you have to hit 16 for it or what, but like, if you're hitting a mantra Q, your next Q is going to be a mantra as well. Like, it's we've all seen the Veigar V2 clip. We know how this one goes. As now Baron is being set up for. We'll get a bit of control in around the river, see if we can't poke anyone out or just find some pressure. Both of those melees hanging out in the bot lane, both thinking about teleporting on up. You can see that Tycho is giving a lot of respect here. He's hanging very far back. Does not want his TP to get cancelled. But there's nothing really to force the Baron to actually be started up yet. And no one really has to respond to anyone right now. So we're in a bit of a stalemate. Sort of, everyone's just chilling, trading waves. And I wonder which team is going to get antsy first and try to break that.
Well, last time I checked, like you mentioned, a stalemate is good for VZK. This gives them more time and control to kind of get the items they need, get that strength back, so that they can compete against DMG much better in these teamfight situations. Looking at the Yone, he's 1.5 items done. I mean, once he gets that second item, I feel like he's going to become an absolute menace.
Maybe, once he's picked that one up. I mean, it seems like he'll still struggle to deal with the Cassante, who's already gone ahead and grabbed himself that there Randuin's, but the question is going to be, you know, can he get that big ult again as the Yone? Because then it doesn't matter if he can't hit the Cassante. So maybe, you know, coming out of like an Infinity Edge and just managing to land an ult onto the Kai'Sa is what wins you the fight. But, you know, historically speaking, Yone has not been known for being the best of team fighters. So he's not bad, it's just not what he wants to be doing. So it's just not perfect of a situation.
Yeah, no, DMG are grouping up really close. They really want to kind of look for some proactive play, and now they're trying to force it. They, of course, VZK knows now that they have started up the Baron, and we'll see if they want to continue this at all. So far, they are continuing it. Even the TP has been committed, so okay, we are go time. TP response by VZK. This is going to be a fight indeed. The Baron now down to about a third, but now the fight has begun. Forget about the Baron. Take out the jungler. Oh my god, the Yone ult comes in and every ult other just piles on together, and then the fetters come in a lot of damage. But now it's VZK just getting completely blasted from the side. All the members in DMG are low, but none of them are dead. And if they are dead, you can't win the fight. So Soren, Jay, and Shada has to be careful. But in the same time, DMG, can they do this Baron? Because they're so low, they're not healthy enough. In the meantime, this Karma's poke does hurt a lot. Nepel Q. Oh no, BBX then goes into 2 people. That's the shutdown. The Baron takes down another person. That was a 2v2 situation. Soren J gets super low and goes down by Bell Ginger Army, and Shada has to run away. And in the end, DMG won that fight, but they cannot take the Baron. And they have to just back off, wounded.
I think that that's a smart call from DMG. That I think initially they didn't actually want to do the Baron. They just realized, hey, we can tank this thing, so we'll get it eventually. You know, we've got a Collector Hurricane Kai'Sa. We're not tearing this thing up. It's not going down quickly, but that is just going to make VZK panic. They're going to try and force some sort of play onto us. And looking at the comp, they're not very good at actually engaging themselves. And that's exactly what happens. VZK go on in, and they get absolutely rumbled. 3 kills going on over to DMG. The problem then is that DMG go, oh, okay, now we can do the Baron. They start it up. It's like, fellas, we're very low. We don't have a jungler. So do have ourselves a Cloud Drake at the very least, as they will be able to speed on out. But again, I like the read from VZK on the situation. Not VZK, DMG. But going back in on the Baron is probably not the best option. Like, if we had a little bit more health, sure. But ultimately, after that one, we just have to be happy that we got 3 kills.
Yeah, and now it must feel really bad for DMG losing out that soul point for that dragon. So, oh my god, DMG trying to take the advantage of the tempo of that dragon being taken, and then trying to being a bit more passive, goes for this Baron. This time the Baron's super low. Nothing is set up for VZK yet. Going to 2k, going to 1k. Boom, the Baron is taken by DMG, and the fight begins. Once again, a 5v5, but the fetters are absolutely massive, and a Yono catches out 2 people. And now Strangle coming in for the side, but my god, the shockwave is absolutely huge. Soren J has to be careful because now he's getting hunted by BBXN. And yes, DMG this time for sure works out. They win the fight, and 5 members still intact. How in the heck did nobody die there? And Bell Ginger, oh, gets the kill. Yes, gets the kill, and that's an ace for DMG. And now they're pushing into the base. Could they potentially end the game?
Let's see what they can pull off. They got a couple of minions with them. How much longer do we have on the death time? This is coming up to about 10 more seconds on Udyr. Don't know if we can look for a full end with 20 seconds on Shida and Soren, but we can probably pick up that inhibitor at the very least. Then we can go ahead and grab that one, and that's all it's going to be. We'll back out and end up taking away a couple of camps as well.
My god, DMG, they are playing super well. I'm super impressed by, like, just that, I don't know, the decisiveness of that Baron call. Honestly, I wouldn't have gone for it myself because, you know, obviously I'm not as high elo as these guys, but still, super impressed.
I mean, it's the same as the last one, right? Where the premise is that there's not actually anything VZK can really do. They can look for Karma Poke, but that's about it. So DMG know if we start it, then maybe we can turn, we can get a pick. And it just takes too long for VZK to get there. It takes too long for them to get involved on the play. And so DMG actually managed to pick up the Baron, and even then, you know, Tycho gets a big ult. Soren gets a very nice feather call, but a good recognition from BB is that he goes, okay, there's no feathers anymore. There's no Yon. I can just go in. He just dives in, fully confident that nothing can take him out. And he manages to pick up those extra kills on the backline just before any cooldowns can come up and stop him from popping off. And they manage to pick up all the kills. We go ahead and grab ourselves the inhib as well. So again, another good assessment of the situation coming out from DMG.
Yeah, no, I mean, just super well played by BBX, and I thought that was, like, honestly, that team fight, after seeing all the well coordinated ults that VZK was doing together, I thought, like, oh man, DMG, are they gonna win? Are they gonna lose this fight? But then they just kind of played so structured and so well, so calm. They saved their cooldowns until they knew it was completely safe to go in. Boom, the shockwave came in later, the Kaiser ult came in later, and they were just able to pick off all the members of VZK once they had no more cooldowns left. And now there is a fight here going on. Legendary Yearwalk getting kind of surrounded, but all the teleports in the world is like the Avengers Endgame scene where like everybody comes in through portals and stuff, and now you have everybody in DMG coming in as one. The jungler is dead, and they are now pushing top. They want to win this game.
Not 100% sure what the play was from Strangler there, what the vision was, but you have to respect the man for trying. At this point, it's now a little bit worrying. We're going to go ahead, we'll lose the inhib turret, we'll lose the inhib as well. Question, I guess, is going to be, are we going to go ahead and use the turrets? Also, the wave is a little bit far away, but Baron is going to keep those cannons empowered, and it looks like the plan's not to go turbo end quite just yet. They might just be waiting for those supers to turn up on mid, though. Cooldown's all available for DMG if they want to try a fight here. Is that's a bad time to... Wait, it's not them pausing. That's us, isn't it? That's us getting the old spectator bug, I'm going to assume.
I think so. I think so. I'm going to hope that is the case.
I would assume,
and we get this tense moment.
The refs would have a problem with pausing right now if this wasn't the spectator bug version. So I mean, oh yeah, tense moment on the karma queue. Yeah, you know, Wyack is he's shivering his timbers right now. He's quaking in his boots that karma's going to do something. Oh, I hate it so much. You ever try playing, like, you try playing Skarner against Karma Top? Did you try playing Jax against Karma Top?
I have played against Karma Top, and usually I like playing melee tank top laners. It is absolutely horrible. I completely agree with you. Like, you can go even. It's just the worst experience ever. You're not having fun. You don't even care.
You probably will go even. You're just not gonna. You're gonna be happy about it, you know.
Yeah, like everybody else is like, "Yay, we won the game! Good job, Ejin, for playing weak side." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." By the way, I'm done with the game.
Yeah, I think I'll phone it in after this one, lads.
Yeah.
God, it's just not fun. But at least it doesn't win. That's the important thing, or at least it's looking like it doesn't win. So far, I think it's a bit of a sticky situation for VZK to come back from, and so we'll try and figure this one out. I mean, what's the comeback here for VZK? Because it feels like they've got to get like quite a few kills in a row here, or like big shutdowns and plays in a row, and there's just such a massive front line to get through. You know, Udyr and Karma work as being a wall when they're even, and the secret is that, well, at least for the Karma, it's cheap, so you don't even have to be even. You can be slightly behind. But right now, you're very behind. So as we saw in that fight earlier in the top lane, Udyr's not a wall. They do just sort of run straight through him. And it all sort of goes a little bit downhill. So when they run straight through him, they're just going right on top of all the backline carries. And those carries are not doing anything to get through Cassante, doing anything to get through Sejuani. Cassante probably doesn't even need to ult for the rest of the game. It's a bit rough.
No, yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, you know, I did kind of comment on the fact that, like, oh man, versus they seem to be landing these combos so well onto like 2 or 3 members, but then I kind of realized those 2 or 3 members are always the front line of DMG. I feel like maybe that's the way Versus maybe gets back into the game, is they need to get those combos, but on the back line. But that's the tough part, right? Access to the back line for Versus just sounds like it's going to be such a tough task. And apparently I think we just got the news that that DMG did win the game, and the game is over. We're not going to show any more gameplay, and we will send it to the desk. So Doctor, it was great casting with you. Of course, I'll see you in the next game, and we will send it to the desk.
Thank you, Ejun and Doctor. We are going to need to hold up our crosses for Rev for cursing us again. We're going to need to... The power of synergy compels you. Please stop breaking our games, Rev, okay? We know
I'm sorry.
you're not from round here, but that's no reason to spoil our fun, alright? So, okay. DMG did win this game, alright? 30 seconds after we froze the clip, DMG won the game. We all could probably see it coming when we got to that stage of the game. And there are a couple of very interesting things to touch on here, okay? The first one I want to look at, this was kind of the central theme we had going in, is the early game, right? We wanted to see if one of these teams could get an early game lead and then convert it into a mid and late game. Now, do we think that was successfully achieved? Melvin Izzle, talk to me about DMG. Do you think they did that? Do you like the way they converted on the leads they built?
I would say absolutely. In this instance, they did a really good job of recognizing, right, Karma's annoying, but it's really hard to break that. There's one trip up later on in the game, but early, they recognize Yone is going to be our big problem. They lock in that Orianna counterpick, and the bot lane for DMG constantly waddled their way up to mid and made their life even harder for Tycho in an already losing matchup. And I think we saw later on that paid dividends for the real no damage.
Yeah, it really did. We do have a, I think we do have a replay ready of one of these early plays for DMG, and we can see how they're aggressively playing through this bot lane. And while that's rolling, Rev, let me get your take on this as well. In terms of DMG's early game, do you like the way that their strategy they put together, and then how they pulled that through play to later on?
Yeah, if we exclude that top lane weird scenario, I don't know what to call it. I think that they were.
The man's muted.
Yeah,
which is why. There he is. Okay.
I am sorry. I am cursed and muted. But yeah, if we exclude the top lane shenanigans, I think that their early game was pretty clean, and that's all they need to do. And honestly, people might tank on that and say that whatever, they just built a draft that cannot lose if they get ahead. But it's more than some even LEC teams can do. I brought up in the green room the big example of Rogue, which are always drafting to win the team fights and have the most, I don't want to call it brain dead, but it is brain dead front to back composition. You just need to press your buttons normally and you just win the game by default if you're ahead, but that's all you need to do. And they did find the windows in the early game. They did shut down the Yone, and I think that was the most important part, because we saw time and time again the Yone trying and finding all those initial wombo combos for the team, but not succeeding to do anything because he just wasn't far ahead. I think you said it, he had a 90.5 versus the 3 of the Orianna, and he couldn't do anything.
Yeah. Tycho was certainly finding some great, bait unsealed, but sadly it did not matter. And as you say, it was the simplicity that ended up coming through in the end, right? They had a comp that was very easy to execute. The onus was not on them to get complex with it, and they built a great lead, and they kind of felt like they couldn't lose, right? Through to the end, they weren't like outplaying, they were just too strong, and they were doing what they needed to do. So DMG found that solution to get that first win. Now, we do have to talk about this Karma top. Unfortunately, we are currently, production are talking to Ofcom to see if we're allowed to show the replay of that top fight, because it is a bit disgusting. So we'll get word on whether that can come through. We have actually been given the green light, by the Geneva Convention to show this. So let's talk about the Karma top lane, and we have a specific moment that I think you'll probably all remember. Melvin Izzle, why don't you talk to us about how this, as you say, just kind of ruined the top lane for DMG.
So we were brainstorming a little bit on the grasp, and the logic that we kind of came to is, okay, well, if Sheeta can only die when they get absolutely clown top lane, just make sure they can't. And such nice play to avoid getting caught out here, and by the time that Strangler shows up, this duo does so much damage if they are allowed to get in these 2v2, 2v3 skirmishes, and it's really expertly done. I mean, all I'm saying, Udyr jungle did look a bit better than Udyr top, but we'll keep it up to this Karma in the top lane that was nicely played from Sheeta in the early game, just wasn't able to convert it with the team because DMG had already swept the leg on their comp by taking out the carries.
Yeah, absolutely. Rev, looking at that Karma top lane, I'm the Udyr jungle as well as part of that duo with the Udyr going Leandries, and I guess how do you feel about the strategy choice from VZK, at least on this top side, and their execution of it?
Well, I might be a little bit headstrong, but I'd still prefer the Udyr in the top side. I don't think that the Udyrs we've seen in the top side are the issue, maybe the build path. I really did enjoy the Leandry start, but he couldn't afford the fans to keep on getting those tank items, so he could be a frontline nuisance and still proc the Leandries with the enhanced ultimate. So somewhere along the lines with the Fed Kai'Sa, the Fed Oriana, and him not being able to afford more and more armor and HP, he couldn't be enough of a nuisance. Now, on the other hand, where would you put the Karma and where would you put the Yone? That's a good question. Maybe they need to mix and match and find the better position, because they were so close to greatness, but no cigar.
Yep, Shida certainly can be decently happy with the performance there. There were some great clutches and definitely demonstrating the power of this pick. I'm sure it's not going to be the last of it that we see today and generally going through this patch. So with that said, let's move forward on to game number 2. Paragon versus Venom Crest Serpents. Now, we are going to have a quick break. I've just been reminded by production. I'm getting too excited. Okay, we're going to have to pump the brakes a little bit. We are going to go to a quick break for now. We'll be back with game number 2 in just a few minutes. More Four Nations coming at you in just a moment. See you then.
I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it. Rappers spending money in some really funny ways, man. I promise you, man, really getting paid. Yeah, show a couple bands flexing on the Instagram, and nobody getting fans that way. Yeah, well, you really dumb if you spending all your funds on some clothes and your tape need work. Yeah, you ain't gonna stand if you ain't a businessman, man. I promise you, the plan ain't gonna work. Yeah, rappers spending money in some really funny ways, man. I promise you, man, really getting paid. Yeah, show a couple bands flexing on the Instagram, and nobody getting fans that way. Yeah, well, you really dumb if you spending all your funds on some clothes and your tape need work. Yeah, you ain't gonna stand if you ain't a businessman, man. I promise you, the plan ain't gonna work. Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Four Nations type of game number 2, Paragon versus Venom Crest Serpents. Now, we have a bit of an imbalanced matchup here. Venom Crest on 2-0, Paragon 0-2. Now, we're going to get into why we think that is, but we're going to start from the top. We're going to talk about Venom Crest first, because I didn't even know this before, and I don't think Zoe knew this before, you know, the runner show was put together, but we didn't know we had a very Venom Crest loaded desk today. So this should be a great segment for you guys to really tell me about why you think that is, because both of you feel good about them as a potential leader of the pack even after just 1 week. Melvin Izzle, I'll give you first crack at it. What is it that you actually specifically like a lot about Venom Crest Serpents? Hype us up. Tell us why we should be excited here.
So when I was catching up with the league, trying to, get myself ready for today, I have not been able to go through all the history, but when I was looking at how these teams should stack up in the current meta, I was just looking and going, why is Venom Crest not absolutely cracked at the moment? They have so much talent that has a lot of experience across the whole roster. And with these games, not just in the Four Nations, but pretty much globally, teams are struggling to play their mid to late game transition and then secure a win off the back of that. Well, the way I see it, having veteran rosters and these players that have so much experience, they're going to know how to play around a lot of the wacky game states, which is why, for me, off the back of the real talent in the top lane for Kenji here, I think Venom Crest should be on the radar, not just because of the scoreline.
Yeah, for sure. And we do have a graphic, I think, for Venom Crest KDA, just to give you a bit of an indication as to how well they are doing in this first week. They've had a very, very dominant start. And while we're getting that one up, we can see it here. Rev, what can you add to this? What can you tell us more about Venom Crest? Why are you so in favor, so behind this roster?
Well, I think that Melvin Izzle actually did analyze it quite well. He did put in the facts, the know-how. So I'm going to go by the average chatter experience. And I'm going to say that Venom Crest is so beautiful, handsome, breathtaking, gorgeous, attractive, charming, heavenly, magnificent, divine, alluring, lovely, delightful, appealing, winsome, ravishing, glamorous, irresistible, bewitching, beguiling, graceful, exquisite, aesthetic, hot, sexy, tasty, divine, dazzling, fascinating, good-looking, and they can actually skill deep their opponent. So I think that's a little bit more than enough for them, especially when they've already shown quite a lot of versatility. I know we're talking about a very small sample size. It's only 2 games, but they have won it in completely opposite ways. One by just smashing the opponent in the early game, and the other by playing the meta, playing calm, playing collected. And it's been quite a lovely start from them, and I'm excited to see if they can keep this up.
Yeah, I mean, even after only 2 games, having an average deaths across the team of 1 is crazy. That's a very, very hot start, right? In any arena, especially in an actual competitive scene. So we're very excited about Venom Crest and the way they've started off this season. We now have to turn our eyes to Paragon, another of our struggling teams. 0-2, this Ex Machina roster, the Exeter comp roster that was picked up by Paragon with a couple of tweaks after they won the RPS, defeating Paragon at that point. So Paragon still ended up here. I guess it doesn't matter how you get there, right? And this is a roster that I think a lot of people had a lot of excitement for. There was a lot of hope that our university scene, which is one of the strongest parts of the UK kind of umbrella, is its university scene that's been around for many years and is quite sprawling. Melvin Izzle, I know you've been a part of that scene for a long time in many different levels. Can you tell us a little bit about this Ex Machina roster, now this Paragon roster, and what do you think kind of we can be hopeful about for this roster? What do you think we can be happy for with these guys coming in?
So coming into today, there is a minor roster change. We have Timotapler taking over the top lane now, and then subbing in Drippy Darren into support. When we looked at this roster before, their bot lane was absolutely nutty. I think that they could still maintain that with Lost being a very consistent performer for the roster. But now, I think the biggest issue they've been having is they just haven't been able to pull it together as a squad while in game. The hope is now that it's a lot more standard, kind of like what we were just seeing that DMG put together last time. You have Tim in the top lane, they'll be able to eat up a lot of pressure and then enable this bot lane to really run away with the game. In theory, if a Paragon win is coming out here, it's going to be not too dissimilar from what we just watched.
Yeah, I think it is worth noting that I believe this is the case, that when they promoted up to the RPS, I believe Drippy Darren was the one subbing in for support at that time. Like, we hadn't even seen Timotopper yet, and everyone was hyping him up, but even though Drippy Darren is a sub-support, technically speaking, definitely a competent one, right? We don't expect the bot lane to be suffering a lot. We'll see how Timotopper does in the native topper lane, I suppose, but we'll see if he can do that. And for me personally, I was very excited about Laspt. He gave us one of our Ezreal games that we've seen so far, and I think he looked like he was about to carry that game at several moments. So the bot lane is definitely something I'm going to be looking at. And I think last week, when we were asking our analysts in the green room, who are you most excited about on Paragon? We got, 4 or 5 different answers. There was a lot of threats on this roster. So we'll see if any of them can step up and be... can step forward and take control and get Paragon their first win, even against Venomcrest, someone that we are very excited for. Now, to focus on what we think has been going wrong with this roster, we've talked a lot about what we think is good and what we think should be working, but the fact is, it hasn't. So we do have a little bit of a VT here to show the struggles that they're having, and again, it is kind of focus-centered on that early game into mid-game, but Rev, while this is rolling through, talk to us a little bit about the kind of over-forcing that we're seeing from Paragon in their games.
Yeah, I think that it all comes back to what you're told about them being so prominent players. So what do leaders do? Usually they go for the call button, and when you have so many players suited to be leaders in the Four Nations level, they get overexcited. They all see the angle, they all try to go for it, and usually not in the order they have to. So they get overexcited, they get carried away. Sometimes the play might not go as you wish it to be. As we saw here, the other wall did not hit 4 inches. And when it doesn't go, it also affects you, slaps you really hard in your mental state. So I think that is the biggest issue. You don't have a natural hierarchy of, hey, I'm the leader, you're the follow-up, you need to support me. And somewhere along the lines, everything else gets blurred. It's a vitality situation where you might have a super team on paper, but in the end, it needs to get rolling, and in the first hurdle, you can smash your head on the pavement.
I want to actually just go right off the back of that, of expectations. You used Vitality as a comparison. Everybody looked at Paragon, said, right, this roster should be coming in looking great. It can get in your head so easily, where the weight of expectation is an expression for a reason. And every play we just watched on the screen just screamed to me that, oh, hold on, we're meant to be able to win this play. Hold on, we're meant to be like the favorites. We're meant to, And once you're in that headspace, it's really easy to get mixed up, get desynced. I'm hoping now that we see in the top lane having Tim up there, he can kind of just bring it to a calm. Multi-role talent over the years. We're in the draft now. Let's take a look and see how they bounce out against Kenji, who I think is a massive just right hook for Venomcrest.
And also, may I add that it's the pressure that all those expectations bring, it can also get alleviated at a moment's notice. One more example from the LEC is Carmen Corp, who went Agent 007, and then as soon as they were eliminated, they got 2 wins in a row.
As soon as it didn't matter.
Yeah, it's that win
together.
condition. Unfortunately, the win condition is that the pressure to not exist anymore, and at that point, it's too late. So can Paragon actually slip away from that chokehold, or will they suffer from their own expectations?
Yeah, maybe if we just get more and more supports on their roster, it'll calm them down. Less playmakers, just keep putting supports in different roles, and then there's less playmakers in theory. And it seems like Venomcrest are also trying to hamstring them by this method. They are focusing on that support role. The Senna and the Melee are both priority picks with the Desir to finish it off, and there is Nico, Corki, and Varus taken away by Paragon. So the mid lane has suffered a bit, and the bot lane, but the Karma is left open, and Kel Surprise, here it is again. And now we have a support player we can put top lane. It's genius. I don't know how we let this one go, Venomcrest. I don't know how we've done this.
Exquisite. Just perfect design right there. We see the Karma locked in. Now, bring it back. We got things like the Udyr, the Cassante still sat around, and with that, Nocturne picked up something that was banned in the previous game. Needs to be very mindful. Enables map play, enables snowballing off of the back of diving towers. Something that we do need to be careful of, because we saw in the previous game, if you cannot protect your laners, it's very easy for a coordinated squad to just run away with a game.
Yeah, we had the answer being the Ezreal Nocturne, so denying the Ezreal Karma bot lane that we mentioned. Paragon have instead gone to, okay, well, there's still a pretty good duo up, we'll take the Xayah Rakan. So we know that the Karma is going in a solo lane somewhere. We will find out where that is going to be. We'll see what the answer is from Venomcrest. They've got the Nocturne in the jungles, they've got already a pretty good go button, a pretty good disruptive element. and it looks like they might be opting into that double AD carry in the bot side. So strong poke, more follow-up engage as well with the global Ashe ult. There is a lot of threat coming towards Paragon, though they of course do have their own defensive options with multiple supports with the Xayah, so this is still fairly even in my mind. As we go to the second round of the bans, Rev, where are we looking at now? We've got mid laners to pick potentially, we've got a jungler on Paragon's side. Where are we expecting the priority to come through?
Yeah, I think the jungle should be plain and easy for the side of Venomcrest to ban away, because you have your Nocturne, you wanna just pick away picks that will annoy him in the early game. Zinza, one of those, I don't know, maybe the Trundle, because you can always invade. If you find him one-on-one, you annihilate him, so they cannot play the game. Now, on the other hand, if the Karma is going top lane, and Timo Topper is mostly a support player, I expect some bans away. We saw already the Gwen, maybe also the Cassante, or something that the top laners pick and are annoying in general, so the Cassante, once again, is expected to be taken out of the equation, just to make his life as easy as possible.
Yeah, we had the Orianna being the last takeaway, two top laners, actually, Gwen, Rumble, and then the Xin Zhao taken away. So Cassante is open, and Kenji has been one of our very exciting new talents that people were bigging up in a big way. We did see how toxic that is for Cassante with the Karma matchup last time, so maybe Kenji doesn't want to do that again after he's seen it, but it might just be like this champion's just too good, it's too useful, we'll have to go for it anyway. As the Veigar, I believe we have maybe seen before, Roskilde is going to lock that one in.
I like that. It was kind of what we were discussing with this whole Karma gambit of which lanes it going in. You pick a mid lane that's kind of annoying for Karma. Putting the baby cage around them means that you are just absolutely trapped. You have to have flash or Nocturne is going to start just pummeling you post level 6. Veigar, really insane on this patch of the amount of AP they can stack without even having to go down that itemization. We look over to Paragon, and on the subject of AP, they pick up the Brand jungle. I'm a little worried that they might be over-indexing into AP at the moment, unless they're sending this Karma into mid and picking something like that Cassante blind for the top lane. I am a tiny bit wary about where this plays out now.
And it's also pretty easy right now for the Venomcrest to just slam dunk a tank in the top lane, even the Ornn. His combo with the Nocturne is quite nice, because you never know when the old goat is coming in, where he will hit it. You don't see the Barney has switched the lights off, so I am enjoying the draft potential from Venomcrest, and especially the Veigar. You pick the Veigar and they just overload with immobile champion, because yeah, the Rakan might have some mobility, the Xayah has that Feather Storm, but it still will not get you out of the baby cage, the event horizon, and it's really easy to punish the Xayah after the fact.
Okay, Malphite last pick. Ooh.
There is no frontline on Paragon, to be clear. There is two supports, but there is not even an off-tank to be speaking of, and this is against Ashe
One of them
Arrow.
is not played by the support.
Yes, and this is against
Neither.
Ashe Arrow, Nocturne, Malphite. The engaged threat on Venomcrest is massive. The mobility on their key carries, being, I think, Brand and Xayah, and also the Karma mid lane, is minimal. You know, Xayah has ult, but that's it. I feel like Paragon have to be positioning and warding very, very, very well in these fights to not just get blown up. And then the Nocturne ult makes that even harder. So, Melvin, I don't know if you think the Paragon have like the tools to do this. They have gotten an AD laner at least to go and match up there, but I don't know, it looks pretty scary for them.
Paragon have got tools, and it is very much an angle where they can look for the outplay, because when you look at Venomcrest's comp, they are a shotgun. They have one way to get you. They are going to fire the Ashe Arrow, they're going to throw the Malphite at you, dive on you with the Nocturne. But if they're all going on to last on the Xayah and they manage to get escorted out of there, if they're going on to Snippets, who will die, they really don't have a way to outplay that on the Brand, then you can hope that you can overwhelm them by chasing back in with the Jace, with the other remaining carry, whoever it may be. That's the angle I think Paragon has to play for, and it's all going to come off the back of if Eden can secure push in the mid lane early to enable Snepix to get in there, try and deny that Nocturne from hitting level 6, because Brand's clear early is something that needs to be abused if Paragon is going to have a chance for me.
But it's also been nerfed, so there are slight timers for the Nocturne to invade and get into Brand's face, especially if he finds out where the Brand is starting out his clear. He can just get a camp, go into the enemy jungle, and wait out everything. Bran cannot stun you, Bran cannot kill you, fear, or you get his summoner away, and then it's pretty easy rolling from that point onwards. And even if you try to think, okay, it's fine, we got so much AP, we can then play the team fights, the front line is an armor stack. No, all those MR items have been buffed into oblivion. The Kenny Crookern is giga insane at this moment. You can also go, I don't know, Force of Nature. One armor item is more than enough for the Malphite. He stacks it with the W. You don't want to overinvest in a stat that doesn't add up additively. It's only adds up multiplicatively, if I'm not mistaken. So after 100, 150 armor, you should be done. It's getting harder and harder for Paragon to cut through the enemy defensive and HP bars.
Yeah, and I think there is another kind of element of simplicity that Venom Crest has, where they have a clear mission. As say, it's a shotgun, right? And there's one barrel on it. It's just, we're going to fire everything in this direction, and if we miss, like, half of them can just stay back, you know? Like, you know, Vigo doesn't have to get that close. Ash Arrows, very fire and forget. You don't really have to think about it. And then for Paragon, I think they don't really have a lot of leniency. There's not really a lot of room for error there. I think the punish is pretty massive. However, if they get to the point where the brand is really ahead, the Karma's ahead, like Jace ahead, they're poking really hard, and as we go into that mid game, if they've got a nice lead to play with, they can just be like devastating before the fight has even happened due to the poke that they can throw out. So we'll see if Paragon's able to get that first win, and Venom Crest we know is going to be a strong contender, and we know they both have strong early games. Paragon have just struggled to convert later on. So while we're about to go into game, let's get a very quick prediction, Melvin Izzle. Who do you think's taking it in this game too?
I think Venom Crest should take this. If Paragon managed to win, then Tim's MVP. It has to be off the back of this Jace just nailing down poke onto these squishy backliners.
Yeah, pretty crazy to have a support go in top lane and then pick Jace. That is definitely not what we expected to happen. Rev, what about you? Do you think Venom Crest are going to take it, or do you think Paragon's got the sauce?
Well, I am a cooking enjoyer. I watch so many cooking shows, but no, I think that these ones got a little bit burned on it. So I am going for Venom Crest, and I'm gonna be. Yeah. It seems I'm gonna be how's it called? A fanboy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be Venom Crest fanboy. Sticking with the conviction from the start, the opening desk. I like it. I think for me, I think I just can't see past like the tools that Venom Crest has with the engage. We know that they play well together, and we know that they have such great tools to make things happen. And Paragon, I would love it to work. You know, I'd love to see a brand jungle pop off, and the Karma, we know how annoying it can be. We'll see if Eden is ready to pilot that one to success. But for now, I think we are going to pass it over to our casters. We're about to head into game. Doctor and Ejun, if they're ready to pick it back up, and we will hope that Rev doesn't blow up the client again. So if you can just take your hands off your keyboard, Rev, just to make sure, you know, where we can see him, so you're not breaking the game. Let's pass it over. Doctor, Ejun, game number 2, Paragon versus Venom Crest Serpents. Let's take it away.
Thank you very much, and if we hear what the analysts are saying, it seems like it is overwhelmingly favored to be the Venom Crest dominating this game, but we'll see how things go. This time, Doctor, hear me out. We got Karma, right? But it's not in top lane, it's in mid lane, so that's a bit better, right?
Well, we don't know that yet. They could lane swap still.
Oh, that's true. I kind of forgot about that point, but hopefully it is going to be Karma mid this time. Otherwise, we're going to have to see like Karma into another tank. This time it's Malphite, so maybe not as tanky as the Cassante, but still a bit miserable to watch, nonetheless.
I mean, I think it would be better.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do agree with that point.
The game. And the base not against the. Oh, this doesn't make any sense to do. Okay, Malphite's gone for the old Doran Shield, but he's gone for the Comet as well. It's like, okay, pick a lane, you know. Doran Shield and Resolve, or Doran's Ring and Comet. But I feel like he wouldn't be able to poke out a Karma too easily. So it seems like it would just be better for both sides to send the Karma up top. But
it seems like, at least the way they're posturing, Karma seems to want to be in the mid lane here. That means that Timator on this Jace will be going against that Malphite. I mean, I'll be honest, Doctor. I love playing Malphite. You know, say what you want about me, but so I'm super happy to see a Malphite in professional play. Not gonna lie.
I mean, look, here's my issue, right?
Okay.
Eden has taken Comet and is playing Karma mid versus a Squishy, which both give me the impression that Eden wants to do something. Not historically what the competitive Karma pick is for. Now, you can do stuff. You can play an aggressive, like, Mage, AP, Karma mid. It's just like, it's not the free win that the cringe version of the champion would be.
Indeed. So we'll have to see how that works out. We do have Rock Skilled on this Veigar, so that's going to be a nice way to just scale up and just control the battlefield. Of course, we have the Brand jungle, famous for his super fast clearing. Or is it still fast, or has it been nerfed to the ground at this point?
I think it's still the fastest.
Yeah.
Not sure who would be faster. My god, he's gone bone plating versus Ezreal Ash. Oh, it's a criminal. But he actually got 2 procs of it, so, he gets away with it. He pulls it off as Eden. Ooh, he's using his buttons. And what's the play here? It looks like Bartoldi's doing the same that we saw from the Udyr last game, where you just do the old chicken start and go turbo clear mode. And that's obviously going to help you get your level 6 a little bit faster. And just like that, Ash turns on the map hacks, and we know exactly where Brand is and at what speed he is clearing.
Quite quick indeed at the moment. Nocturne a little bit behind, but both sides wanted to play for this bot side, so we'll see how that works out. Currently in bot side, Venomcrest has a bit of that advantage with this push, kind of shoving it into Paragon's bot laner here, so they'll just have to farm underneath the tower for now. I mean, this Ashe Ezreal so far, their poke is quite potent.
Yeah, we're getting there. A little bit of damage coming on through. See if Last can pick up all those groups under the turret there and keep that gold relatively even. Brand coming down to bot lane, there could be opportunity. It's not like an Ashe Ezreal can disengage very well, at least pre-6. So, a Rakan knock-up landing onto Ashe, that's going to be a kill or a flash at the very least. And, not actually on a wood. No, he is on a wood. I lied. Snefex has been seen. And now he's in a bit of a sticky situation. He's running for his life, knowing surely that 2 people aren't running at. No, you don't turn around and walk back. You don't take the step back as clearly. There's a Nocturne here. Now we've got bot lane involved though, so might be able to find something.
Ooh, okay. We do have a bit of a fight beginning. We have, of course, Bulbasaur being caught out here as that Ashe gets charmed, gets rooted, and that first blood going to Snepix on that Brand. I mean, another thing I learned about Brand is this guy, you don't really want to get him too fed. I mean, he starts completely deleting people.
God, you don't. That is a strong contender for who you want to be picking up that first blood there. And it looked a bit keen from Snepix, sort of walking back into the 1v3, but it takes long enough that Last and Darren can come back, and Snepix can buy a little bit of time, and he gets those rotations to come back up. And as we see, the knock-up lands onto Bulbasaur, and that one turns on into a kill. Last playing it well to be able to get those feathers down so that he can secure a route off the back of that one, and Bulbasaur isn't going to be allowed to flash out. Now Snepix coming up into top lane just to help push this one out, as Tim is low on mana, and yep, they have accurately assessed that the Nocturne is going to be top lane. Having started on top side and dying on bot side, he's reset and gone back to... Oh, he didn't die on top side, but he did have top side camps to clear. So he's gone all the way back up there. Snepix crashes that one in so that Jace can get a good recall.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, this game so far, with that first blood on Paragon, this might be a really nice starting ground for Paragon to start doing some early game activities. We already do see they are grouping up around this Void Grub, wanting to take it early. The Dragon is up though. We'll see if Venomcrest wants to respond with a Dragon.
See if they can pick that one up. The damage is a little bit low from the bot lane right now, having not gone and bought any items, and Last can actually one-hit that wave if he needs to, but his support's not there, and neither of his Youngula. And Snepix will go ahead and pick up the old Grublings instead. Those ones go down pretty quickly to a Brand. All things considered, you're probably okay with this trade. You're going to struggle to ever really get Prio to go ahead and get that Drake, so... Drake going over in a moment where the Prio was already down, it's like, they were going to get it, so we might as well go ahead and grab the grubs. Anyways, that's an engage. I don't think that
aggressive from Kenji, but Kenji's completely oob now, and Timator has something to say about this. He is dealing the damage on this Malphite, and Malphite is quite low. He has to completely back off from that situation. Really aggressive play.
But he does manage to get out alive, and he'll now be able to teleport back, catch all of these minions, and maybe he can try to cancel Tim's reset. Maybe Tim just takes a reset that he doesn't really like that much. So, not the end of the world for Kenji. And I don't know, maybe the play here for Kenji is that he just wants to just limit us a bit. Just sees like, okay, if I can get a kill now, I won't have another chance once that Eclipse comes on through, which is what I assumed was being built. But it might actually be that mana.
He must have forgot to check his mana or something like that, because he was so by the time he ulted in. I mean, he only had like one more spell in and he was completely out of mana. I
don't know if he just thought it was going to burst, or if he was okay with the trade going the way that it did, because essentially what happens there is he pops his ult and he's trading his TP for an entire health bar, right? And so now he has a bit of prio. He can TP back, push this wave out, and maybe he can look for something in River would be my idea, but there's no Malphite ult to play off of, and there's no Gromp, or what they call Grubs, for the Nocturne ult to work on, so I'm not really sure what the plan is here. Again, they could be building this wave for a dive, but there's no Malphite ult, so I feel like there was a plan. I was just not privy to the finer details of it.
Okay, Eden here, trying to do an aggressive ward, now caught out by Bartholdi, guessed, feared, and now, ooh, the cage barely misses, but now comes the ultimate from Bartholdi, and the burst is too much to handle. Rock skill gets the kill on Eden. That is going to be the kill towards this Venom Crest mid laner, looking nice and healthy.
Another day, another dead Karma 07. What a time to be alive. Karma mid I actually don't have that much problem with, because it's like the cringe part of Karma is playing it versus the tank or versus the melee, like you were saying earlier. Stuff like versus the mage is fine. Yeah, and you also just play a bit more Chadley when you have the I'm actually going to do damage mindset as opposed to the I'm going to nullify everything mindset. But
this is
the mindset for Eden right now is oof, ouch, owie, my bones, as he gets a Nocturne ult sent right in towards the face. But he manages to keep up in CS perfectly even, in fact. Even though he's gone down. I don't know, what's the plan for anyone in this game really right now? Oh, the plan for Tim is to
wait a second.
Make a bit of damage here.
Needs to watch out. Kenji, yeah, this Malphite can be quite dangerous. I always say, like, as someone who enjoys playing Malphite, he has a lot of surprising damage that people just don't expect. You look at him, you see a rock, so you think like, oh, he's not going to deal any damage at all. But just a surprising amount of damage.
Can we get a quick check on the Malphite skill order? Have a little look-see at that one. Because that Q looked like it wasn't doing a lot of damage. What's he doing? Yeah, he's got W mass. So what was the point of the comet, That's
actually, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea.
We've got a comet, but we're looking for W autos, so we want the grass proc, and I pray we don't have to turn the cameras back on, because mine's doing something.
I will say, while we're paused like this, I mean, I might be
my camera's not having it.
Yeah, these are professional players, and obviously I'm just a caster, but from my position there, if I had to comet and going into the Jace, I would have definitely maxed Q, because Jace doesn't really build tank. Your Qs actually do hurt by rank 3 and rank 4. They will actually start chunking Jace down like a fair bit, and if the Jace player isn't, careful, then you can just kind of hold him hostage with like your potential, like just killing them with the ult and stuff. At least that's what I feel like. So I am quite perplexed to see like the Q not being maxed on the Malphite either. I will admit.
Well, my camera's not having it, boys. Yeah, I don't know why. Like, you can pick one or the other. Like, if you go Doran's Ring, Q max Comet, you're chilling. If you go W Grasp Doran's Shield, you're chilling. But like splitting the difference, is you just lost so much. So much of the resolve tree that you would have liked. And so much of your damage and all in. And it's like, oh, you get more poke damage, but you don't get more poke damage because you didn't max Q, so it's like...
Yeah, not super sure. But well. Nonetheless, the game is paused at the moment, and so far, kind of looking at, I know it's been quite like quite a gentle game, not too much happening. Of course, we got one kill each. How do you feel so far about the pace of this match? Like, is it more Venom Crest favored or is it more Paragon favored?
I mean, Brand's getting the first blood. That one works out pretty well. That's usually a good sign. He's gone ahead and picked up the whatchamacallums as well. The grubs. So off of that, you'd want to think that they're on good pace and that Paragon are doing all right. But At the same time, obviously, he has to convert that into the next 3 grubs to get the full 6. And once that bot lane come online, once you get just that little bit of damage, just like first item on Ezreal, you get the level 6 on Ashe, that's really going to change a lot in terms of the dynamic of how that bot lane's going to play out. So maybe we just have to hit that tipping point, and then it starts to swing a little bit in Venomcrest's favor.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I did see some, I do always think that in coordinated, like, professional play, that Veigar is an incredibly strong pick. I just feel like the cage is so... It's basically such a powerful spell. I cannot believe that a cage is not an ultimate spell. It really feels
the
like...
strongest basic in the game, no?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like so. It really does do so much, like, so much space and control, and it's just... I don't know, man. A good... in the hands of a good player, and it's obviously all of these players in this league is good... It's an incredible skill to have.
Hearing from Melvin that it's Jarvan's. Oh, it's just objectively better because you can't. Your allies can enter and exit freely, and you can't dash through it. It's just better than Jarvan ult.
Yeah, wait, and isn't it better in the sense that Jarvan, at least when he ults, he has to expose his body, while
I don't
for
think
Veigar, you can just kind of
he
sit
should
back.
be doing
You
that.
can just, like,
No,
but you get what I mean. Like, I didn't mean it like that, but you get what I mean.
Look,
he has to go and expose himself.
You do what you want to do on your weekends, but Jarvan. I mean, admittedly, he is part of the royal family, so maybe he finds himself at a Pizza Hut or something. I don't know.
Right. The chat's getting into it as well. You know what I mean. But okay, it seems like we're gonna get into a quick break, but hopefully we can get back into this game, and we'll see you guys after just a bit.
Pull up in that Lambo with the 10 down. Everything on flip 14 got a rims on. Pull up in that Lambo with the 10 down. Everything on flip 14 got a rims on. Pull up in that. I pull up in that. I pull up in that. I pull up in that. 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 Pull up Lambo with the 10 down. got him sound, got a remote.
Yeah. Yeah. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. People wanna talk that talk in reality. You have not seen me in action. You think the come up comes overnight. You ain't behind the scenes. Trust me, these things don't just happen. No shade to Gerald, but G's don't come easy when you tryna eat out producing and rapping. I read that contract you sent me to sign, but excuse me, I can't help myself. I'm just laughing. Hey, you tryna cut out a piece of my pie, and I asked you politely, what's it that you offer me? Yeah, I produce all my own beats, and I have no intention of losing my publisher. Yeah, independent individual, boy. I've been eating off passive residuals. Yeah, let's be professional. Thanks for your time, but I had to decline at that principle. I've been scheming up a plan, hey. I've been saving all I can, hey. You could call me David Ramsey. The way I handle these bands, hey. We ain't messing with the old model. New era, new kid, we full throttle. Just know that the come up is not a flaw. My amigos, they focus, know what to do. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it.
Yo, look, I ain't saying that I'm rich, cause if I'm honest, I've never been. But when I look at all these other kids, I feel just a little bit ahead of them. You should know the business is competitive. There's a lot of people that I'm better than. Even veterans ain't got the knowledge I do. I've been reinvesting all I ever spent. Stop pretending like you poppin'. Who been out here making profit? Told my mama that I got this. I wonder if she noticed what my job is. I don't know how I'ma make it, but I know no matter what, I'm finna find a way. All my homies finna eat and I ain't letting no one on my team look at an empty plate. Yeah. Went from a boy to a man, ayy. Every day been making plans, ayy. They don't really understand, ayy. Gotta look out for the family. I won't fall for any scam, yeah. Only worry about the fans, yeah. I won't compromise the brand, yeah. I've been saving up the bands, whoa.
After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. After I get it, I reinvest. Stack and put it back in it. Rappers spending money in some really funny ways, man. I promise you ain't really getting paid. Yeah, show a couple bands flexing on the Instagram, and nobody getting fans that way. Yeah, when you really dumb if you spending all your funds on some clothes and your tape need work. Yeah, you ain't gonna stand if you ain't a businessman, man. I promise you the plan ain't gonna work. Yeah, rappers spending money in some really funny ways, man. I promise you ain't really getting paid. Yeah, show a couple bands flexing on the Instagram, and nobody getting fans that way. Yeah, when you really dumb if you spending all your funds on some clothes and your tape need work. Yeah, you ain't gonna stand if you ain't a businessman, man. I promise you the plan ain't gonna work. Yeah.
Hello again, everybody. Apologies for the delay. We have, as you've probably noticed, suffered at the hands of another issue with the Spectator client bug, the same issue we had on Thursday. So for now, the observers get frozen in the game, they get kicked out, they can't reconnect, we can't really see the rest of the game. So unfortunately, that does mean that we will be ending the stream here. We will not be showing any more games today. Look out on the UKL socials for updates on when we will be getting those games out to you. Rest assured, we will show you these games at some point, including Paragon versus Random Crest, so you will not be missing out the content. But today, there will be nothing else to see, unfortunately, while we contend with this issue. Sorry, everybody. Thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your evening. Thank you, Melvin Izzle, Rev, for joining me, and we will strive to overcome this issue. But for now, thank you so much, and have a good rest of your night, and we will see you at the very least on Thursday, potentially before or after that as well, with the replay of today.